My little brother died and I'm not supposed to tell anyone. It's been 6 years this month. Our parents also haven't spoken to me since December, I think because I expressed concern about my mom's health. I've been holding on to this for a while, obviously. If it weren't for my sister-in-law, and my therapist, I'd probably be a basket case. My brother was an alcoholic. He struggled with addiction for a long time and ultimately passed away from liver failure. We spent a month with him in the hospital, literally watching him die. It's one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, and I live with PTSD, so it's not been all rainbows and sunshine. Due to my daughter having to have surgery that couldn't be postponed, and us living 14 hours away, I had to leave. He passed 2 days after I left, so I wasn't there. Grieving has been very difficult for me, and I'm not at the point where I can process it all yet. Which brings me to my mom. A little background. We grew up Mormon. No drinking, no caffeine, no smoking. All of our extended family and all our friends knew this. As we kids grew up, we all left the church, but my parents tried to keep up appearances, even though they didn't go anymore either. So for my brother to die because of alcohol was an embarrassment to her. My mother is also adopted and not super close to her adopted family, especially since most of her generation has passed. So we were told that we weren't to say anything to anyone about his death. We weren't to say anything on Facebook or any social media. We were to keep it private. I could respect that she'd want a little time, a few days, to process before she dealt with other people, but time kept passing and no one knew. She didn't tell anyone. His friends didn't know. On August 27th it will the 6-year anniversary of his death, and still no one knows outside our immediate family. I feel like not being able to talk about it is keeping me, at least, but I think my sister and my sister-in-law, too, from being able to truly grieve. All three of us are really struggling still. Our mom has been extremely controlling about everything surrounding him and his belongings since he passed. She keeps his shoes at her front door. She keeps his urn wrapped in plastic wrap and then tape and hides it whenever we come over because I asked for a bit of his ashes. She's afraid I'm going to steal them. He played and collected guitars. He had like 30-something. We're only allowed to have 2, saying things like we can't possibly be as upset as she is. No, we didn't lose a child, and that's a horrible thing. But losing a sibling, a person who's known you every day of your life, who shared all your secrets, grown up having the same experiences, is supposed to be there for every important event, is supposed to be there beside you when you lose your parents, when your kids grow up, when you're both sitting at the adult table, when you get old and yell at the kids to quiet down, when you sit around and reminisce about the good old days. Never for a minute do you think they might not be there. And suddenly when that reality hits you, you fold because you had no idea what was coming. So I get she hurts, but not for a second has she acknowledged we do, too. I went up for the December holidays, so we were all there, and I mentioned something to my sister-in-law about being concerned about my mom's health and her mental state dealing with everything, and my mom and dad both are refusing to speak to me. When I left, neither one said I love you to me. Not a phone call, not a text, not a letter. They won't speak to my kids either and didn't acknowledge any birthdays at all. They won't answer or acknowledge me in any way. So much so that my mom found her birth familiar a few months ago and refuses to tell me. She told my sister that I could find out about them when she dies. What if they die before she does? They're older than her. What do I do then? This is all baffling to me because we used to talk on the phone every day, sometimes more. And she's already lost one child but is purposely cutting off another. I can't tell you how many times she's called me and said, "I'm concerned about your mental state." And I've said, "Yeah, I've got therapy." It was something we openly discussed. I don't even know what to do with it all. I want to start telling people, especially my extended family that we grew up with, that he's passed. And at this point, with my parents not speaking to me, it feels like I might as well go ahead. They'll probably never know, and if they do, they're not talking to me anyway. Or is staying quiet the best thing to do and I'm just grasping at anything to feel better?